And welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines we're tracking for you this evening. Markets post the best weekly performance in over 4 years, adding over 22 lakh crore rupees in market cap. The rupee gains for the 8th day sees its strongest week in 2 years. Manappuram Finance shares hit record highs after private equity Bain Capital signs a $1 billion deal to pick up an 18% stake along with an open offer for 26% additional equity. Bain Capital will get joint control of the company if the open offer goes through. Bajaj Finance shares hit record highs after Managing Director Rajeev Jain is elevated to the post of the Vice Chairman for a tenure of 3 years. Effective the 1st of April, Anup Kumar Saha has been named as the new Managing Director. Ola Electric admits that it has received notices from the government seeking response on discrepancies in sales and registration data. Says that 40% of the temporary backlog caused due to negotiations with vendors has now been cleared. Sources add that the Road Transport Ministry has sent a second letter to Ola Electric seeking further clarifications. Unaccounted cash discovered at the residence of Delhi High Court Judge Justice Yashwant Verma last week following a fire incident. The Supreme Court Collegium transfers him to the Allahabad High Court, directs for an in-house inquiry, concedes that his transfer is only the first step of disciplinary action being contemplated. The Allahabad High Court Bar Association opposes his transfer, says it is not a trash bin. The Heathrow airport in London is shut down until midnight after a fire at a nearby substation caused a significant power outage at Europe's busiest airport. Over 1,000 flights flying to and from London cancelled. Air India diverts 2 of its London-bound flights, cancels the remaining scheduled daily flights. At least 90 killed in the last 24 hours in Gaza on day 3 of renewed Israeli strikes. Israel's military announces a ground invasion in South Gaza's Rafah. UNICEF says at least 200 children have been killed since Israel resumed its war on the enclave. All of that coming up for you in just a bit, but the market action of the day, the Lal Street posting its best weekly performance in over 4 years, adding over 22 lakh crore rupees in market cap. The Sensex and the Nifty rose more than 4% each. That's the story. About 200 points higher today for the Nifty. The Sensex up 550, 530 on the Nifty Bank, and the mid-cap index 700 points higher. But it's really the story of the recovery that we've seen through the week that Prashant joins us to take us through. Prashant, a nice bounce back for the markets, but is the mojo truly back?
For now, yes, Shireen. I mean, markets were gasping for air, and some oxygen, some air has been let into the room, and I think people are breathing easy in that sense. Just consider this. We've had, today was the 5th straight day of gains, and we've not had 5 straight days of gains for 7 months now. That kind of tells you how tough markets have been over the last many months now. But, well, we are tracking the bounce and, of course, the distance from the highs, right? Both qualitatively and quantitatively as well. I'll start with the indices, the Nifty Bank, the mid and the small cap indices. So 6, 5, 10 and 12, 13% is the bounce on the Nifty Bank, mid and small cap indices respectively. But also keep sight of the distance from the top, the view from the top. 11% for the Nifty to go, and, I mean, much more for the mid and small cap indices from their respective highs. This is just a slice of history. A 2-year cycle plays out. Sometimes, I mean, looking at history is reassuring. And when you look at, well, you get a sense that, well, these things do happen. And this is just, the February 2016 Brexit episode where the market sold off 23%. This is all on Nifty. The ILNFS crisis in 2018, 15% sell-off. COVID, of course, it was brief but sharp, 38% fall. Russia, Ukraine, 10%. And, of course, this one from the highs late last year was about 16% or so. We've retraced 6% so far. Now let's look at sectors, right? Pockets which have done the maximum from the lows. But again, to put it into context, I've also, for each of them, I'm highlighting how much to go from their all-time highs. Nifty Metals, CPSC, Oil and Gas, and Nifty Real Estate are some of the strongest sectors we've seen come up from the recent lows, which is approximately on the 3rd or 4th of March, depending on what sector you look at. PSUs, pharma are the others. PSUs, of course, as a space, was the first to get smashed and lost about almost 35–40% of value, but strong recovery is what we've seen. The last 3 sectors essentially is where the trouble is. Autos, not very much at all, 21% off the highs. You got the FMCG space, still 20% off the highs. And the IT index, it did not correct with the rest of the market with the same ferocity. It sold off late, but no recovery at all. I mean, actually, we made a new low today. And of course, intraday, we did see a bit of a bounce, but 20% off here. Let's look at stocks. And for stocks, what I've done is I've looked at NSE 500 group, and I've taken the close of the March 3rd as the starting point, not the intraday low, but the close on the 3rd of March. And here again, you know, it's largely industrial / defense / capital goods / manufacturing, those kind of names which have bounced the most. So Garden Reach, Bharat Dynamics, HAL, Jyoti CNC, Chennai Petro, Adani Enterprises, Kirloskar Engines, Avanti Feed, NLC India, the pipe maker Welspun Corp, JSW Infra, and KEC International coming through as well. There are some capital market plays, K Fintech, Novama, and CAMS, and a sampling of some other names, DOMS, Amber, and Spark, etc., would show through as well. By the way, 40 stocks out of the NSE 500 are up over 20% from their lows on the 3rd of March. What has not done well at all is all consumption, consumer. Just a caveat, this also is because maybe they didn't fall, the timelines are not same. Consumption has not been doing well for a while. So, I mean, these sectors peaked out much before the broader market, the rest of the market peaked out. But in any case, nothing very much by recovery. Devyani, Sapphire Foods, Metro Brands, Vedant Fashion, Campus Activewear are some of the names which come up on my list. There was Manyavar, which also Mapma India. The technology pack, Infi, LTI, Mindtree, Wipro, and Wipro are some of the IT names which have seen no bounce whatsoever. And of course, some stock-specific news-related stocks are here. There's IndusInd Bank, where there was this mini crisis, and KEI Industries got that space got sold into for the second time in about 3 weeks with the entry of a large player. But as I said, it's a bounce. It's a strong bounce. We just need to take it day by day, but maybe now week on week, now that we're really out of the depths of the crisis that we were in even 2 weeks back. Back to you.
Prashant, many thanks for joining us, and we'll of course see you back on Monday. The markets are going to take a well-deserved breather this weekend. Meanwhile, in the currency market, the rupee gaining for the 8th day, registering its strongest week in 2 years. The currency strengthened on the back of improved foreign inflows and a fall in the dollar index. From the currency market to the commodity markets, oil prices on track for a second consecutive week of gains. This on the back of supply concerns after the US fresh sanctions on Iran and OPEC's plans to cut output. Meanwhile, gold prices dipped marginally after hitting record highs yesterday. However, rising safe haven demand amidst geopolitical uncertainty has kept the yellow metal on track for the 3rd week of gains in a row. Manappuram Finance shares surging to record highs today after Bain Capital signed a $1 billion deal to pick up 18% stake. Sudarshan standing by to take us through the contours of the deal and what it means. Sud.
So this week we saw several of the deals announced, and one of them was Manappuram Finance. And on the back of this deal announcement, Manappuram Finance stock has hit record high, gaining up to 12% intraday. Now, talking about the deals, Manappuram Finance and Bain Capital have announced the deal of more than $1 billion, or say more than rupees 10,100 crore. Bain Capital will be acquiring up to 42% stake, and once the deal is done, Bain Capital, along with existing promoters, will jointly control the company. This deal would happen in 2 parts. In the first part, Bain Capital will acquire 18% stake for rupees 4,385 crore, and this would happen via issuance of equity and warrant in the same proportion of 9.3 crore each. In the second part, Bain Capital will bring in open offer to acquire up to 26% stake, and for this also price is rupees 236 per share. Now, if you take this deal price, that was at a 10% premium to yesterday's closing price, and at a premium of 30% if you take the average of last 6 months. Now, what would happen to the shareholding? Currently, promoters own more than 35% stake. Once the deal is completed, promoter stake will come down to less than 29%, around 28.9%, and Bain Capital stake will increase to around 41.7%, or say 42%. Regulatory approvals that would be required are of RBI, IRDAI, CCI, and stock exchanges. Apart from this deal, companies also announced that, if you remember, Ashirwad Microfinance last year had filed for an IPO. Now that process will be withdrawn. Now, post this deal, most of the brokerages have turned positive on the stock, and the target price is as high as rupees 270 per share. So overall, it's looking positive for Manappuram Finance.
Okay, Sudarshan, many thanks for joining us. And shares of Bajaj Finance also hit a record high in today's trade. This comes a day after the company elevated Rajeev Jain to the post of Vice Chairman and Executive Director for 3 years starting the 1st of April. Jain has also been appointed Additional Director of Bajaj Finance. Bajaj Finance Deputy Managing Director Anup Kumar Saha has been elevated to the position of Managing Director for a 3-year period. So the stock reacting to that leadership announcement. The Ministry of Road Transport has sent a second letter to Ola Electric seeking more clarifications. This is in relation to the discrepancies found in Ola's sales and vehicle registrations. Parikshit is standing by now with more details. Parikshit, take us through what the MHA is asking of Ola and whether there has been any response to the queries raised so far.
Essentially, the queries that have gone from the Ministry of Heavy Industries and the Ministry of Road Transport, they're in the nature of trying to understand why is there a discrepancy between the kind of numbers the Vahan portal or the vehicle registration portal of the government is showing for Ola Electric, which is around 8,647 vehicles registered in the month of February, versus what Ola is claiming in a stock exchange filing that 25,000 vehicles were sold in the month of February. In fact, the government is also closely watching the NCLT case by Rose Murta as well. The Ministry of Road Transport and Highways is also asking, apart from asking about discrepancy in sales, why trade certificates were not there for different outlets in the country. And a second specific query has also been sent. In fact, we're learning from sources that approximately 3,500 outlets are there for Ola Electric, and most of them do not have valid trade certificates. We're also learning that inspections have happened not just in Punjab, Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh, but also in Telangana, Himachal Pradesh, Odisha, Kerala, Jammu. So this seems to be a pan-India exercise. 36 scooters have been impounded in Maharashtra alone, 14 in Jabalpur, and this is because they were lying in premises which did not have valid trade certificates. In fact, Ola has been saying that they do not have a dealership model, and these scooters have already been purchased by the customer. There is no sale happening at these showrooms, but this has not cut eyes with RT authorities who say that there is no such thing as just displaying vehicles. If you have a commercial establishment, you have to have a trade certificate. Ola sales in February were around 8,647 that we reported. 11,781 vehicles have been registered in the month of March. The company is saying the temporary backlog in February is due to negotiations with the registration vendors. 40% of the backlog has been cleared, but clearly there are still a lot of questions for Ola as to why these trade certificates were not there. The company is still in the process of replying, and many of the RTOs are yet to get replies from Ola Electric.
All right, Parikshit, many thanks for joining us. The Tata Group, meanwhile, has finalized a syndicate of 10 investment banks for the proposed 15,000 crore rupee Tata Capital initial public offer. According to a money control report, the financial services firm is likely to file the draft papers by the end of March via the confidential pre-filing route. Tata Sons, the promoter entity, owns over 92% stake in Tata Capital, so that is an anticipated IPO that is likely to take off. India's coal production has crossed 1 billion tonnes. In a tweet, Prime Minister Modi has hailed India's achievement, emphasising the country's commitment to energy security, economic growth and self-reliance. Prime Minister Modi also highlighted the significant role this achievement will play in driving India's progress and energy sustainability. The External Affairs Ministry informed Parliament that it has strongly registered its concerns with American authorities over the treatment of Indian deportees, particularly with respect to the use of shackles. US authorities assuring the government that no women or children were restrained on the deportation flights that arrived in India on the 15th of February and the 16th of February. MEA stated that this was verified by Indian agencies. Since January of 2025, 388 Indian nationals have been deported from the US. 295 more Indian immigrants could be deported soon, as per the government. The Supreme Court Collegium has transferred Delhi High Court Judge Justice Yashwant Verma to the Allahabad High Court. This comes after unaccounted cash was recovered from his residence last week following a fire incident. The Collegium has also directed an in-house inquiry into the incident. Ashmit joins us now with more. Ashmit, the situation puts the judiciary in a very difficult position. What can we expect now from here on in terms of action against the judge?
Well, a curious situation unfolding before the Delhi High Court that places the judiciary, the larger institution, in a spot of bother, in a predicament. Justice Yashwant Verma, a senior member of the Delhi High Court bench, heading a commercial bench, responsible for deciding a number of important cases, was away for a holy break. His house caught fire while he was away. Subsequently, the fire tenders were called and unaccounted cash to the tune of crores recovered from his residence. Now, the optics of it all compelled a decision from the Supreme Court Collegium, which was in fact convened last evening. A decision was arrived at that he needs to be transferred to his home cadre, which is the Allahabad High Court. But the important thing is that various members of the Collegium, in fact, had voiced concerns that this entire issue, the optics of it, could tarnish the image, the reputation of the judiciary, that more firm action is required, and which is what in fact led to this extraordinary meeting of the Supreme Court Collegium that was held this morning. It lasted about 45 minutes. The Supreme Court Collegium, just to remind our viewers, consisting of the CJI as well as 4 senior-most judges of the Apex Court. And importantly, a measured call has been taken to institute an in-house inquiry. A committee has been constituted consisting of 3 judges. In fact, a report has also been sought from the Chief Justice on the Delhi High Court on some of these allegations, on these optics, on the recovery of this unaccounted cash. And what we're given to understand is that a further call will be taken by the Supreme Court Collegium on whether or not to continue with Justice Yashwant Verma or to ask him to resign. That decision will be taken only once a report has been filed by the in-house inquiry. So clearly, disciplinary action being instituted. There is, of course, however, the larger question that during the pendency of this in-house inquiry, what happens to the fate of Justice Yashwant Verma? Will judicial work be suspended? That's another key question that the Supreme Court, that the Chief Justice, that the Collegium will now have to answer.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट की कॉलेजियम बुलाई गई और उस कॉलेजियम से हमने ये फैसला लिया कि इनका ट्रांसफ़र पेरेंट हाई कोर्ट इलाहाबाद हाई कोर्ट में कर दिया जाए। हमारा इस पे सख्त ऐतराज़ है। हमारा ये कहना है कि क्या भ्रष्टाचार के आरोप को झेल रहे एक माननीय जज साहब, जिनको जो कहीं और पोस्टेड थे, वो यहाँ से जा चुके थे ऑलरेडी, उनकी अपनी स्वैच्छिक रूप से उन्होंने स्थानांतरण लिया था और वो यहाँ पर फिर भेजे जा रहे हैं। क्या हमारा हाई कोर्ट डस्टबिन हो गया है कि किसी जज के ऊपर अगर कोई चार्ज लगता है तो उसको इलाहाबाद हाई कोर्ट भेज दिया जाए?
Well, that's the Allahabad High Court Bar Association saying it is not a trash bin. Time for us to head to a short break. But up next, the Heathrow Airport in London shut down until midnight after a fire at a nearby substation caused a significant power outage at Europe's busiest airport. Over 1,000 flights flying to and from London cancelled. That and more when we return. Well, let's address the global stories. More than 1,000 flights have been cancelled and at least 120 have been diverted at London's Heathrow Airport. This after a fire broke out near a substation, causing significant power outage at Europe's busiest airport. Emergency services were immediately deployed to the site, and airport authorities advised passengers to not travel to the airport. Sanjay Suri gets us the latest from outside the Heathrow Airport.
Massive disruption at Heathrow Airport here. The airport is closed for the day. We've been told it will be closed until at least midnight today. Well over 1,300 flights affected. That's both departures and arrivals. A lot of planes due to arrive in Heathrow in the morning have been diverted. The lucky flights have been diverted to nearby Gatwick, but others to Manchester, to Glasgow, and still others to Paris, Amsterdam, other countries. This is a massive disruption that's been caused by an outage of power supply. There's a power station about a mile from here in nearby Hayes, where a massive fire broke out overnight. We have been told there is no statement as of now on the cause of the fire, but that is what finished the supply to Heathrow. Thousands and thousands of passengers have been affected, and this is not going to be the end of the disruption by the end of today. This is going to lead to a massive knock-on effect because flights have been postponed or they are being cancelled even on days subsequently, and already there are warnings that passengers will face disrupted journeys for several days to come. And let's not forget, Heathrow is one of the busiest airports in the world, and last year it handled about 84 million passengers. So that's a lot of disruption, and this is going to lead also to other flight disruptions that affect flights not operating necessarily directly only to Heathrow Airport. So we can expect a great deal of disruption in days to come. Passengers have been arriving early morning, hoping to get their flights. Others have come to pick up passengers. There are no flights taking off. There are no passengers arriving, no flights arriving here at all.
Sanjay Suri, many thanks there, reporting from outside of Heathrow Airport. So what impact will this have on Indian carriers? Madhiya standing by with the details. Madhiya, Air India the most impacted?
Well, right, several passengers, thousands of passengers travel from India to the UK. And it's not just the Indian carriers. Several foreign airlines fly Indian passengers from major Indian cities to London Heathrow. There's British Airways, Virgin Atlantic offering direct flights. Then Emirates, Etihad, Lufthansa, KLM, Air France, Kuwait Airways and others offering connecting flights. Among Indian carriers, only Air India offers a direct service to Heathrow from Delhi, Mumbai and Bengaluru. Indigo also offers Heathrow flights through its partner Turkish Airlines with a stopover at Istanbul. Now, Air India has 6 daily flights to Heathrow, 3 from Delhi, 2 from Mumbai and 1 from Bengaluru. And all these flights have been impacted, causing severe inconvenience to several passengers. The Delhi-London flight AI-161 was diverted to Frankfurt. Mumbai-London flight AI-129 was diverted back to Mumbai. All other Air India flights to and from London Heathrow for the 21st of March have been cancelled. And since some aircraft would be stuck at either sides, this could have a spillover effect like rescheduling and cancellations for tomorrow's flight schedule as well. And we may see the impact continue for the next few days as well.
All right, Madhiya, many thanks for joining us. Well, with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. The news will continue right here on CNBC-TV18. Stay tuned. We're back in a moment.